Dr. Toby Jenkins, good morning for us, but good evening for anyone watching. How you doing?
Hi there. Doing well, doing well. It's a good day.
It's well, you know what? These days I'll take good days. Good days are great
Hey,
days.
hey, it's a good day. Woke up.
Right.
I'm here.
As you know, I've been looking forward to doing this for a while. Thank you for your patience as I retooled the situation here. It's much more beautiful and flowing, which is fitting for you to be here now. So I appreciate your patience. But again, thank you for spending some time with me today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, always a pleasure to be in space and community. I'm so excited about finally getting on this podcast that I absolutely love. So it is an honor.
I
It's an absolute honor.
Well, you know the honor's mine, but I do appreciate the appreciation. I appreciate you. So we're here to talk, as I've introduced folks to you about you in general. Obviously, not just this product that you have,
Right.
but the hip hop mindset, the book that you have out, success strategies for educators and other professionals. I told you when I saw you. I guess we were at Howard, perhaps when I saw you in person, and I said you wrote the perfect book for folks who are doing like the work we do in this hip hop advocacy as a way to uplift humanity in all these different areas. It's just the perfect encapsulation of what we know and feel and inherently, want to express to other people, but you did it so well.
No.
Just for those who are not familiar with the book, just the log line. What's the basic, synopsis of what this book entails to you as the
Right,
author?
right, right. And so so first let me say that when I first came to approach the project, my focus was not necessarily just educators, because what we all know is that the culture, the community, the mindset that it produces is relevant to everyone. That's regardless of what field you work in, you don't have to be an educator. You don't have to be doing hip hop education for this to be relevant to you. It's a leadership strategy, and really, that was my goal, to create a leadership book. Now, I published it with an education publisher, and they were like, "We need the word education somewhere in this
Fair
title."
enough.
So
Fair enough.
yeah, yeah, so I
That
added
is
it.
the best part to me is that it's not just for educators. Absolutely,
Right,
100%.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because we move and we use it and we flow in various aspects of our lives. And so, we work in the realm of education, but even if we were working in business or in politics or in healthcare or, whatever, PR marketing, it's still relevant. But it and the concepts are nothing new to folks that have been doing this work and really championing hip hop culture and hip hop education for years. What I wanted to contribute was just laying it down and saying it plain and documenting it as a professional mindset and a leadership practice. For others, like you said, for others to understand and to know and to recognize that our cultures produce more than the entertainment
Right.
aspects of what people kind of associate when they think of hip hop. But yeah, so the book is really about the ways of being, the mindsets, the ways of thinking, moving, showing up in the world that hip hop culture inspires and teaches, and produces in those that really embrace and become a part of the culture in some ways, right? So many people who might not ever, I mean, they might, secretly in their house do some rhymes and say,
Right.
amongst
Right.
friends, in the
Right.
safety of friends and stuff. But they would necessarily, might not necessarily get on a stage and spit and just saying, doing all of that. They don't, even the people that don't situate themselves as artists are
Right.
still situate themselves as hip hop. They
Right.
still embrace and embody a spirit and a mindset of hip hop that really influences how they show up and how they move in their professional settings, in their educational settings, in wherever the spaces that they enter, and it propels them to greatness. And I really wanted to document these gems, these the success mindsets have been so popular
Right.
lately and everything. And one of the things that I've always said as an academic, I've had a lot of education, a lot of years of education. I sat in a lot of classrooms, a lot of boardrooms, a lot of retreats, a lot of conference centers and stuff like that. But the stuff that I learned that sets me apart and makes my work magic didn't come from those spaces. It came from from my culture and my community, including spaces like hip hop, but also spaces like my neighborhood, my family, my you know what I'm saying, my squad and everything, whatever. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned that, we're an academic. I've stumbled my way into academia. I'm not an academic by, by trade or by degree. But I attribute everything I now do or know or have learned or have been able to weave my way through life based on this kind of hip hop mindset, this hip hop ethos that we get when we're younger. And we realize that, we want to do some things. And I learned this from obviously communities that have, this is part of their DNA where it's like, we can't do the things we want to do. We're held off. We're blocked off. We're going to come in and do it. We're going to come in the side door if we can't come in the front. We're going to smack it, flip it, rub it down, remix it, remake it. And that's where I learned how to do all of the, creative or, ways to get through life when you don't have necessarily all the traditional accolades. And I think that hip hop, is a fuel for that. And again, across all industries, which is a great, it's a point we want to make all the time because of the focus of the entertainment. Everyone,
yeah,
generally speaking, you think it's entertainment. What always bugs me is that people say, hip hop doesn't have that, that counterculture thing anymore. And I'm like, I'm talking to a hip hop educator in a college that teaches hip hop class. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right, right,
that's pretty counterculture. That's pretty getting inside and looking to change the landscape a bit.
right.
Um, uh, uh, Tell me about the neighborhood. Let's go back a little bit, then we'll come back forward if you don't mind. Where did you grow up? What was your first early connection to hip hop? How did hip hop shape you in conjunction with obviously the cultural and familial situations that you had growing up? Where did you grow up?
Yeah.
How was it like?
Right. So here in Columbia, South Carolina, where I work at the University of South Carolina, this is my hometown. So me
Yeah.
coming back to USC was me coming home. And I was here until about 20 years old. So I went to college here at USC as an
Yeah.
undergrad. And but I grew up here, right? So I wasn't necessarily and I grew up, I'm a mid 70s baby, whatever, right? So I'm growing up during the kind of crux of like 80s, 90s hip hop and all that stuff,
I'm right
whatever.
there with you. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, right. So, it was really heavy New York. And then kind of towards the tail end, like really when we were coming out of college and everything, the Southern rap started taking form and shape and everything. But um it was, I was in a Southern space. And consuming the music and the culture and the videos, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, because what I share in that is how, because of a lack of, my family didn't travel on huge vacations and stuff. I'd never been to New York City, right? So as a little Southern child, I'm learning about New York from the
Mm,
media. Right. And that's what I was saying in the book. The word on the street was, New York was a rough place. And so, but really consuming hip hop culture was my kind of cultural geography, social studies kind of
right.
lessons of helping me to understand what the real reality was for my people in other places, right? That their experience did look, probably was different from my experience here in South Carolina, and it feeling very kind of, I don't know, country and all of that
Right.
stuff.
It's
Small,
definitely what us New Yorkers thought. Definitely.
right, right. I mean, I'm
So,
yeah, I'm down here, right?
I'm
But
in Atlanta now, so I did the thing that New Yorkers do, and I just moved to Georgia. So, maybe I'm, I can,
yeah, yeah. But a town like Columbia, it's a big city to us and to people
right.
in rural areas in South Carolina.
Sure.
But to a New Yorker, Columbia is a very small town. And so the but the music videos, watching, and I don't know, I was just one of those kids that was just consumed with hip
Mm,
hop. Like
mhm.
I just loved it. It spoke to me. I was watching every video. I was subscribing to get buying the magazines. I was writing the lyrics down so that I could learn them and remember them, and and
Yep.
everything. I knew all the dances and the routines for all the music videos and everything. But it endured me to I think young people in New York, and helped to demystify what all these stereotypes and lies that people were
Mm.
telling about them, right? So I joke in the book about how I'm like, special ed didn't look like a thug to me. He looked dreamy. You know what I'm saying? I had a
Fair
real
enough.
on special ed, but that was the thing. Like we
Right.
saw talent and just magic and ability, and we adored the same people that I think many schools, society at large, media were vilifying
Right.
and saying that they weren't that they were divergent from the status quo and everything. And it was like, oh, but that's what we want to be. I want to be like that. I want to dress like that. I want to that type of thing. So that's kind of where I was coming from. And then because of my love of music, as an undergrad, so I was a PR major, and I was very adamant that I wanted to be a publicist in the music industry. And so I started interning for a lot of record companies and everything during my so I found these ways. But again, the spirit of, I think, hip hop, like how do you get connected to an industry that is such a New York and California type of space, and you in Columbia, South Carolina,
Right.
but I mean, I was grinding it out, like really reading biographies of people and just looking at how they were just creating their own opportunities and everything, right? So I got connected with the South Carolina record pool. So at that time, record pools were big.
Yep.
They sourced all of the vinyl for DJs and stuff like that or whatever. And so I got in that realm, and then started interning for major companies and stuff like that here in South Carolina, because of course radio promotion and stuff like that, you have regional reps
Sure.
that you can work with or whatever. And so and then I soon learned that the industry itself wasn't necessarily, oh, I love music and I'm good at PR and that this is the perfect job. It was a little more
Little
to
more
it.
political, little politics
A little
involved. Yeah.
book now, whatever.
Yeah.
So I ultimately decided not to go that route.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I my love for it, started very young and really moved with me into academia. When I first started as a in higher education,
Mhm.
I didn't start as a professor. I didn't necessarily want to be an academic. I started as an advisor, like an entertainment buyer. Planned
Mm.
large the concerts and the comedy shows and things like that or whatever on college
Mm.
campus, advised the campus program boards. And so I was
Sure.
still doing the kind of stuff that I love with concert
Right.
promotion and stuff like that, but just did it in an environment in higher education that was a little more less gully. Uh,
Yeah. What's really interesting about all of this is that you took your hip hop wherever you went and into every lane, and then obviously then you pivoted to saying, well, maybe I should become a teacher proper, right? Instead of just playing
right, right.
concerts.
Yeah, but I think even that pivot to academia, I don't know if I necessarily came into the professorate to teach.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't want to admit that.
fair enough. I like
Whenever,
the inside tea. I like it. I want to know how y'all think about these things. Yeah,
right, right. But I mean, because there's layers to the responsibility of the role.
sure.
To expect everybody to love absolutely all three parts of teaching, research, and in the service work is
Right,
a
fair
little tricky
enough.
for me. But yeah, the what we deem as service, like practice. has always been my thing. I ran university cultural centers and like I said, planned events and stuff like that.
Right.
So that element of it. But I really got into it to research. And again,
Mhm.
with this idea of it's important to document and talk about and write about the the work that we were all doing in cultural centers, and you know what I'm saying, and kind of valuing the creative and cultural space that things like hip hop engagement and hip hop education was creating
Right.
on college campuses and everything. People weren't, just wasn't a lot of people writing about it. There wasn't a lot of people championing it and everything. And so, I just had this conversation yesterday about the idea of high impact practices and these what people have deemed these really important educational experiences that they're saying college students, but I mean anybody
Right.
that teaches can say that. But that college students need to have in their college experience to make it rich and meaningful, right? But those high impact practices have been identified, and they mainly come from the things that people like the professionals create, the programs and initiatives that they've come up with, and they're identifying these as these are important, these are important, these are living learning communities are important. But these are but what about these self-created um, dynamic spaces of leadership development and professional development and cultural identity development in dance, organizations and hip hop organizations, and that students kind of create themselves because nobody else is creating it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And it's building up this ingenuity, this entrepreneurship, like all of these professional skills, that because nobody's, these others aren't looking over here, these
Right.
others that really deem what
Right.
leadership is and they aren't looking over here. And so some
It's
of
all the
us,
same stuff.
it's all the
It's
same
all the
stuff.
it's all the stuff they want students to have. They're doing it on their own. You just don't know about it.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
you see it and you qualify it as, oh, that's art, as if people don't
Right.
get
Right.
leadership development from
That's a hobby. They're just
yeah,
they're just
yeah,
yeah, they're just
yeah,
hanging out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Well, I appreciate that translation. Obviously, good friend to both of us. Someone we both look at, Dr. Bettina Love, the first interviewee that I had on this podcast ever, which set the tone forever. The very first thing I learned was that ability to translate, right? That these characteristics live in hip hop as an ethos. And again, there's a Venn diagram to like where, Black culture and, that again, resistance and perseverance and all that stuff comes from that necessity throughout the years. But also the hip hop side to it is sort of artistic, creative, but also brings people in. So, it's an inclusive culture. So when you have people coming in with their own perspectives from their own cultural or denominational background, then there's a nice new mix, again, remixing and remaking all the time. And that stuff is so valuable. But to her point, to your point, is that that's not something that the traditionalists or folks who are not familiar with the culture understand. Or so you have to translate it. You have to put it into, as you said, for the book, lay it out so that it's clear and understandable that this equals this. We don't always know how to say, as Dr. Love said, social and emotional intelligence, but that's what's happening in the cipher. You know what I mean? Like that.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
Um,
oh no, go ahead.
go
I was just gonna
no,
say, so
go
part of that translation is I wanted to get to the sort of the tenets of the hip hop mindset framework, because I think that's what you've done, is that you've found really succinct ways or clear ways to say, okay, this thing that we do that we know how to do, or we know how to, this is what it means, and how to translate that. So I thought that'd be a good segue for that, if unless you had
sounds
something
great.
else you
Sounds
wanted.
great. Let's get
Yeah.
it.
So you have these, so you've set this up, and this is the beginning of the book. And by the way, the book is great. You go through this whole, your I don't even say theory, your concept, or the way you're collecting all of these thoughts. You've interviewed a bunch of folks from within, for the most part, sort of the hip hop academic space. But again, hip hop academics are very often hip hop practitioners in a way. Not only like being an artist or a dancer, Aisha Upchurch and them folk, but also just in the way they carry themselves through life. They are hip hop, and that's
Right.
that's the whole thing here. So I don't know, run down the mindset, the framework, these 9 kind of tenets that you have, or just pick a couple and just again for the lay person who's tuning in saying, I don't know,
Right.
hip hop mindset can make me a better executive. How do you figure? You know what I mean? What are some of the key tenets, or why did you frame it out that way? Hunger, competitiveness, honor and kinship, creativity, authenticity, ingenuity, confidence, claiming space, and commanding attention. Any or
Right.
all of those are very worth exploring a little bit here.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with one that the aspect that is would probably be shared, like you're talking about like a business executive, and they're like, how can they? Well, so that one pillar of the first one of drive, right?
Mm,
So that share anyone will agree that anyone who is committed to success or wants to be successful has to be driven, right? And so drive is a general shared concept among success mindsets and everything, whatever, but it's kind of the way that that hip hop cultural and in communities kind of frame and approach it, right? So this idea of being hungry,
mm,
or wanting to is say in a culture be put on or whatever, right? That there has to be this initial kind of spark or spirit, or just hard-headed desire, you know what I'm saying? Like I talk about in the book how, like, if you align it with hunting,
mm,
that only animals who are hungry hunt, right? They're the ones, like, they're out on the prowl looking for opportunity, looking for whatever. When they're not hungry, they're laid back, satiated, kind
comfortable.
of
Yeah.
right. They're
Right.
comfortable. They're comfortable, right? So hunger is the thing that makes you get up.
Mm,
And it is absolutely something that's shared across many people who identify with hip hop, who see themselves a lot as successful, as as brilliant as, well, what I'm saying, or whatever. But
right.
they share this hunger, and then the thing is that it's continued hunger. Like it's not like I get one thing and then I
Right.
stop. Right. No, it's like, the record deal might be the first goal, back in the day. There were,
Sure.
it might be the first goal. Um, but you never stop being hungry for to achieve something, right? So you get that check, great, we celebrate, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then the
Now
next
it's
thing
off
is,
to the yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to get, I'm trying to be number one.
Right.
I'm trying to hit a number one record. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm trying to go platinum. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get a Grammy. You're always pushing yourself to continue to work and strive, and to chase greatness, right? And so that hunger pulls you, it pushes you in that direction. The other piece is this idea of competitiveness, right? Because I think, particularly in educational spaces, a lot of people are negative about competition because of how poorly they handle, or have, it has been handled in many educational spaces before, right? So, pitting students against each other and labeling students as superior and nobodies, or however you
Right.
want to call them, or
Right.
whatever.
The dust
But
cap or something.
right. So,
You take it right, yeah.
all these ways that we've made competition, they've made, I'm sorry, I don't need to own that. That they've
Right.
made
Right.
competition a really negative kind of space to live in. But when you go into cultures like hip hop, you see that competition can really be a healthy space. It can
Right.
be the space that in a really beautiful and healthy ways pushes you to get better, right? And one of the best examples of that is the cipher. The idea that we are too fragile to be nervous, to mess up, to lose, you know what I'm saying, to just experience what it is to not win at everything or whatever. No, in life, the things that you really want, they are going to require work. They are going to require you to probably have the guts to just get out there and try to get out into the arena and compete. And you might lose, but you learn from that, right? The colleague Timothy Jones talked about that in his interview, that that you learn from losing. I mean, it teaches you so much about yourself. Jay-Z said it. I quoted Jay-Z in the book that being competitive teaches you all the things you're good at, and it teaches you all the things that you're not so good at that you need to work on. But that's clarity that, you know what I'm saying, that you need. And so when we inspire people and we create this healthy competition or competitive spaces where everyone feels able, everyone feels brilliant, everyone is told that they can compete, everyone's told that they have the ability to be the number one or whatever. Now everybody, let's go and work on it and get it and push each other, and right. That's what happens in a cipher. Everybody standing in that circle believes that they can come out and kill that cipher. But it doesn't stop them from clapping up the person in the middle when they're in the middle, right?
Right. Or collaborate.
Legitimately,
Let's collaborate. Let's collaborate. Yo, that was great.
right.
Let's work. Right.
Let's
Of
work.
course.
Let's work.
Right.
Like what you did was dope. And I'm going to admit that. I'm not going to sit here and act like a downplay, and you know what I'm saying? I'm not, I'm
Right.
gonna react. And you're gonna feel great for my reaction. But you better believe that when it's my turn, I'm trying to crush you. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying
Absolutely.
to absolutely
Absolutely.
crush what you just did. That's a healthy kind of competition that we can have, whether it's in a work environment, a team environment, a classroom environment. That's the type of competition that makes people feel alive. And many young people will respond to that type of enlivened learning experience, that type of enlivened classroom, as opposed to this kind of dead meat, space where now no one, everybody's just scared of,
Right.
yeah, of
An
competing.
authority figure, or
Yeah, yeah,
or that
yeah,
shyness. So you don't. No one helps you break out of that. Because even in ciphers, you'll see like people who are maybe just admiring a cipher. I think you talked about this where you knew all the dance moves, but you
right,
weren't getting
right,
out there and dancing. Like
right,
some
right,
point, someone, or maybe you did on your own, you kind of inched into it and tried it one time, and someone, hey, no, come on, you're good, you can come, let's.
right.
And then you get that, that moral support you get, and then now all of a sudden you've,
Then you're addicted
them shackles have
to
come
get
off.
out there. Right,
Right.
right, right.
Right.
And so
The power of the
that's
cipher.
yeah, the power of
Yeah.
the cipher. And so,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, this idea that what we don't need to do is just because people did it wrong is completely trash a concept. Competition, what we need to do is reframe our relationship and our understanding of and how we define competition and how we approach it. But we absolutely need to create these energetic, inspiring, and competitive environments that bring out the best in anyone, professionals or students or whoever. The other thing was this idea of honor and kinship, and
Yeah, I love this one. Talk about it.
yeah, right. So
Right.
and I put it in with, because so many people talked about it in their stories about being hungry and first seeking opportunity and everything, right? So it's a function of drive and competition. But you would think that normally how we usually understand being driven and everything is being like cutthroat, individualistic, right? Throwing
Sure.
everybody on the bus, trying to, out
Right. That's
themselves,
right.
right?
There
But
can only be
not
one.
right. It can only be
Right.
one. And we know that is absolutely not true, right? That's absolutely not true. How many, I know y'all been having these conversations about the relevance of the Grammys, but for real, how many people walk away with a Grammy? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's room and space for winners.
Sure. Right.
Cool.
Right. And a spectrum of
A spectrum of
styles,
winners.
and yeah, of course, everyone can eat.
Right, right. And so it doesn't have to just be one, but one of the things within hip hop is this idea that that being a part of a community, that being part of a crew, a squad, or whatever makes you better. That's how you are able to build yourself up and refine yourself to be able to compete, right? Because those are the people that you, like you said, you collaborate with. Those are the people that give you honest and real feedback. Yeah, no. You know, try. You need to come again with that one. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
That, that,
It's that battle. It's that not battle, but it's a battle. It's a what was it? Iron sharpens iron, right? It's just
right,
yeah,
right.
that concept, yeah.
Right. And we need that. All of us need the not groupies, not people that are just going to tell us what we want to hear.
Huh?
And too often in professional settings, that's what staff members become to senior leaders,
Mm-mm.
right? Group,
Right. That's right.
as opposed to truth tellers. Right. And that's why organizations can't get better. And we need people that are that love us enough to tell us the truth and to really be invested in seeing us shine. So much so that, like you said, they're sharpening us up.
Yeah.
The other part of community and honor is once you get an opportunity that you're giving it, you're creating space for other people. You're bringing people along, right? So throughout, I mean, when you go back to the history of it, you see. I talk about it in the book how like for a long time, I was like, how are these people from like these housing projects getting all these record deals? You know what I'm saying? Because you're so isolated from society. Like you are literally pushed on
Right.
the margins of society with no connection to anything. And then they're able to get themselves situated to become like these superstars and everything, right? And I'm like, shoot, I'm struggling. I'm here in a college and everything. I can't get
Right.
an in at a record company. Like I can't even get,
Right.
I'm trying to make that connection. How are they? Because somebody from that project community came, got a deal. And then
Yeah.
they open that space for other
Sure.
people to come.
Yeah.
And so there's this expectation that you help. Emery Predator was talking about how, when he was the early years of DJing, the whole carrying crates and stuff like that,
Right.
that you
That's
can
right.
recognize that, oh, when somebody invites me to carry, a DJ invites me to carry their crates to their gig, they're giving me an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? They're
Right.
bringing me along. They're going to help me meet people and
Mentorship and apprentice. It's the new apprenticeship at that time. It was apprenticeship. Yeah.
Yeah. So you make this space,
Yeah.
right? I call it passing the mic, and a lot of people need to check themselves on that. Like who you have the microphone, and it's important that when you have it, that you use it in a powerful way. But then who else are you passing the mic to? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you helping other people to come along? A lot of ways. When I look back at my professional career, I assess my success by how all of the how are the people that I led, how are they doing? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? What's their life looking like right now? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's why with a Tony Keith and a Crystal Lee Inslee, and I see all the stuff that they're doing and everything, and how I'm like, yes, that means that I was doing good work, not
Yeah.
little, annual reports and things like. How are
Yeah.
the people that are with you, how are their lives made better as a result of working with you in some ways? Who are you passing the mic to so that they can
Yeah.
go on and do even better things than you've been able to do?
That's
And so
brilliant.
that all is still a part of this whole idea of being driven or drive in hip hop culture. And it's a very different way of thinking and framing or whatever of drive that I think that we've seen in other spaces or whatever. And so that's why I'm saying I think there's so much that people can learn, leadership
Yeah.
approaches and philosophies and ways to think that they
Yeah.
can learn from hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they can, learn it for themselves, but also learn that they need to bring in hip hop minded folk because again, they're gonna see these problems in a different way. They're gonna know problem solving in a different way, and I think that part of that comes from you mentioned the sort of the hunger is because you're not ever comfortable,
Right.
right? because you're not as a young person, again, primarily even in communities of color, but even if I'm a white guy from Long Island, I'm trying to do hip hop. That was not comfortable. It wasn't cool at the time. It was not,
Right.
you know what I mean? You had to work. Now I had to work cross culturally. Now I had to work, respectfully, authenticity. Make sure I'm being respectful. I get checked when I'm not, and that's kind of a not we haven't even talked about the ability of now to work across different cultural or ethnic lines with respect and with understanding, which hip hop does. Like I don't know,
Absolutely.
no other culture that I know of, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get that because you're never, when you're trying to do hip hop, first of all, like you said, if you want to do it from the artistic sense, the whole world is looking at you like, that's not music, that's not real, that's not, and we talked about academics. The reason why I didn't, go through college, of course, is because my dad was a distinguished professor of sociology. And of course, the shoemaker's son don't have no shoes because I didn't want to go that route. I got a lot from osmosis. He was a brilliant guy. But we used to have the arguments. He was an old jazz and blues guy. He was, interviewing B.B. King, and doing all these things when he was in college. And he's like, that's not music. And we would have these arguments. So even with my dad, who I, look up to as my, the most brilliant man. And, he's like, that's not, get a job and just go to school and do the things, so none of us are comfortable when we're trying to pursue these things. And so but you do it and you find a way to get it done, even though you're not comfortable. And business leaders who might have come up through the ranks, academics who might have come up through the ranks and always felt, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm comfortable. I got the hookup. I got the plug. They're not always used to feeling uncomfortable.
Right.
And I think that gives us a little edge, right?
Right. But see, I feel like now a lot of people are feeling uncomfortable because
Good point. They don't know how to cope when they are uncomfortable.
Right. They don't.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
But it's like some of the post-pandemic fallout that businesses and professional fields, a lot of industries are feeling now makes these type, like understanding this type of leadership perspective really, really important, because the reality is young professionals aren't having it. You know what I'm saying? They just aren't having it. They are not. Yeah, that's why. I mean, this is gonna sound like really stereotypical, but I mean, I'm in the South. Fried chicken is really big down here,
Right.
and I mean, you go to some of these restaurants and they're closing at 4 o'clock, and it's like,
right.
yeah, right. When have you ever seen Bojangles closed at 4 o'clock? That is because they don't have staff. They don't have
Right.
people are just not here for working these heartless, unfulfilling jobs in spaces where people just expect you to be to feel like you should just be grateful to have a job and don't appreciate you and value you and everything, whatever. And so they're like, forget it. I'd rather just do nothing. And so that's what I'm saying. Like understanding what it is to create an inspiring professional space for people that does feed them in really, really important ways. One of the things that I always keep saying about hip hop culture and how welcoming it is that and how different it sometimes can be from these professionally exclusive places or spaces. It's like, the closer you get to hip hop, as much as people try to make hip hop out to be, rude and intimidating and aggressive and everything. But hip hop is one of those spaces that the closer you get to the culture, the fresher you feel, right? So it's a cool culture, right? It's a culture where the music sounds fresh, where people the artists are fresh or whatever. But the closer you get to it, the louder the music plays in your car, it starts to make you feel a certain type of way, right? The closer you are to the stage at a concert, the fresher you feel, right? And that's exactly how educational spaces should make people feel. The longer I sit in a school, the more brilliant I should feel, right? Why do we have doctoral students why do we have first year professors talking about imposter syndrome? They've been through 20 years of school. They should feel brilliant. But the very place that is supposed to inspire them and make them feel and know their genius makes them feel inadequate. That is the opposite of what a hip hop cultural environment does. Right.
It's brilliant. Oh, this is what is the Oh, this book is so perfect. You're perfect. Segueing into something, we got a few more minutes. I don't want to keep it too long, but segueing into something that you mentioned that's important. That's on my kind of note here is that negative perception of hip hop, that negative perception of music, and if they even give it the credit of being a culture, that when you go into these other spaces or you try to go into the other spaces and carry some of these lessons, because just you're trying to help the academic institutions, you're trying to help the business environments, you're trying to help people cope in a way that, again, we as hip hop folk kind of have in our tool bag. But you're going to get that resistance. You're going to get that pushback. Just in general. Again, any layperson who might be listening and saying, "Well, I don't know about this. Hip hop is so negative. How could a black woman feel that hip hop is a way to boost your anything in life?" And I hate that we have to keep doing that and explaining it, but some of us do it really well. And so I wanted to say, how do you push back against the pushback? What is it that people need to know? As you know, I call this show "Hip Hop Can Save America." And that's a lofty, concept, and we might need a lot more than just hip hop. But it's because of some of these ideas that you've talked about that we can translate into ways that help people. So how do you push back against the pushback when we're trying to say, no, we can really help people with hip hop?
Right.
Don't write it off. How do you do that?
Right. So, um, my work, I'm going to go back to where I really
Take it
feel
wherever you need to go. Yeah.
the foundation of my philosophy on this comes from, but I think it comes from working in Black cultural centers, in leading Black cultural centers on college campuses, and that work was um kind of unapologetically selfish. Like, we are here to do this. We are here to uplift and educate about, this particular type of culture, and and to champion that experience and everything. And we're not going to entertain um um inviting in doubt and
Negative energy and all.
negative
Yeah.
energy, internalized
Yep.
racism, any of that
Right.
stuff that has held us down for so long, throughout history. And so,
The
you
reason
know,
why you had to even have those spaces in the first place.
right.
Okay.
And the in that in particular, like when people would have a negative view of student activism
Mhm.
and student activists, right? And so, there was point for a lot of senior administrators, executive leaders, nothing boils them up more than a student activist, and they just did not. The reality, people were just began to not like. They didn't like those some of the students. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just like, oh, there's such problematic. No, they didn't like some of the students.
Right.
And but the reality was, those students and what they were able to accomplish through their activism benefited the university more than any of those students that had held all their little offices and painted their face at all the games and attended all, what I'm saying, all of the team spirit, school spirit, all,
Right.
all of the things. But they left college having had a good time and gotten a degree. These activists left college having created university cultural centers that lasted on campuses 30 years after they were gone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um,
Legacy.
Legacy,
Yeah.
creating scholarships and everything, right? And so that's how I feel about hip hop culture. Um, I say very plainly, look, oppression is meant to create a mess among
Mhm.
communities,
Right.
right? N You cannot expect for Black and Latinx people to go through all that we have gone through, to have endured sheer terrorism and oppression and marginalization and all the things that we know and it not be a little messy. That we don't have some people who are uneducated.
Mhm.
That's what intentionally the designed system,
Right.
not educating
It's not
people,
not an
was meant
accident.
to do. It's what it was
Right.
meant to create. So don't be shocked when you see it. Don't be shocked when you hear it in a lyric. But that doesn't mean that all of the community, that all of the race, that even all of the music or all of the culture is that. That it is much more. And even in some of that, there's still, you know, let's face
Value.
it, there's still value. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
with an artist who is saying some absolutely ignorant shit, you know what I'm saying? Just some
Yep.
ignorant stuff.
Yep.
Um, the fact that that artist who probably was, um, you know, not valued in school, might have been kicked out of school, might not have finished school or whatever, but they got picked up a pen to write after people are telling them that they're not intelligent, that they're not worthy, that they're not, and they can still pick up a microphone and talk about how brilliant they are.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like there's something to that. And so my belief in all of it is an unwillingness to believe anything horrible about my own community. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that that and again, just coming from particularly the Southern culture that I've come from, where um brilliance is seen in a lot of different ways. And people mess up, and people, whatever. Like I said, people aren't perfect, but that's also a thing. Like,
yeah.
how do you, through in the work that we were doing in cultural centers, a lot of it was self work in our communities. Like,
Right.
the whole miseducation that Carter G. Woodson was talking about, and Lauryn Hill talked about. You know what I'm saying? Like like a lot of it was teaching our own people the their history and the information about themselves that they needed to know to change their own minds about themselves and to change their own minds about their people and everything. Well, if we push those people away and we judge them, and we're saying that they're not worthy or whatever, we lose an opportunity to transform lives and everything. Everybody is worthy. Everyone has worth. And I might not agree with everything everyone says or the way that everyone thinks. I might not have had the experiences that everyone has had. um but we can still I can still pull them in and include them in the cultural love that I think everyone needs. And would their minds be a little bit different if more people had pulled them in and giving them some cultural love?
Mm, yes. Well, yes.
Right.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Fantastic. One way to do that is to go through life, depending on whether you're an educator or other professional, to go through life with a hip hop mindset. So
Absolutely.
I think that's what wraps it all into this. Again, it's just a pleasure to finally break it down. You have these perspectives shared with me, and we've talked, offline very briefly, but I really wanted to get into this. I like I say, it's to me, it's it's the bee's knees, and I think that it's a wonderful concept, and it's something that we need to share with as many people as possible, because we can, you know, uplift folks all over in all these disciplines. It's what I always talk about. I say hip hop, the tenets of this show are, hip hop can uplift humanity and improve society in areas like education, health and wellness, science and technology,
There it is.
politics and social justice, and people are like, how? Well, I be trying to tell them and give, space to people who are doing it. But it all kind of boils down to this. It really does. This is what can do it. And we can take that into different places. And I always say, hip hop, when applied this way authentically and with intent, across any discipline or across any demographic, sure, but also most importantly, to uplift the lives and livelihoods and communities of those who, birthed and nurtured hip hop to begin with.
Great.
That's
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
what
And I
real
know we
value
can get
is.
into all of it because that's the thing. I mean,
Oh,
it's a whole book.
there's a whole book.
But the those two other big elements, the creativity and the posture, it's the whole claiming space and stuff like that. Those were about, like, how do you engage work in the self kind of development that people need, and as far as self-confidence and things of that nature or whatever, right? So like I said, pulling them all together, I think it's just an approach and a mindset that really, really speaks to particularly to young professionals today.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. We'll push out all this information. Is there anything else? I know you just, kind of glanced over that, but that's why they gotta get the book. We can't give you all the gems here. You gotta go pick it up. That's how it works. That's how
Right.
capitalism works, folks. Um, but that being said, is there anything else that I didn't cover that you would love to get across? The book, anything else coming up for you? Anything else that you'd want to share with folks, or that I might have not covered?
No, I'm excited. One of the things that I'm uh, recently developed out of the book, I'm still trying to um, find space and time to dissect the book a little bit more, for folks or whatever. So I'm about to launch a series of videos of master classes, but like
Mm,
little shorts, master classes on some of the concepts of the hip hop mindset. So I'd say maybe look out for that on Instagram. And then I've been doing some along with the keynotes that I've been giving on the book, had an opportunity in several spaces to, after the keynote, engage like a half day work space and session, really diving into the concepts in kind of a retreat kind of environment or whatever. So I've created a workbook for self leadership and everything that's based on the book or whatever. So
mm,
I'm excited about that. Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's just so much to unpack.
right.
And I'm excited about the opportunity to get people to wrestle with this. I had a colleague recently finished the book, and she works in like hotel restaurant tourism, industry, whatever.
Sure.
And so she was talking about how she was like, yeah, I've read a lot of leadership and business books or whatever. And when I first picked it up, I was kind of like, well, I don't really listen to a whole lot of hip hop. I don't think I'm, but she was like, after I put the book down, I was like, I think I have a hip hop mindset, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
again, it really has nothing to do with your ability. Yeah, like whether you're a hip hop head or MC or anything. That's the beauty of the culture. That there's space for everyone to live in it. That who embrace it and respect it.
Yeah, amen. And I think that what someone can also do, what I really like was your explainer video that you had, kind
Oh
of
yeah.
promoting the book, which goes into a little bit more, breakdown as well. So if people are interested, what's your website? Where do they go to find that and the book in
Sure.
general?
Sure. TobyJenkins.net. So TobyJenkins .net. And that more on the book, a couple videos that explain the whole concept of the book, as well as the links to pick up a copy from Amazon on my website.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for your time. I'm glad we finally got to do this and do it right. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's I've gone through this. I love, and we didn't get into it a whole lot, but I think that's a very valuable point you brought up. The idea of not just how to lead others, like 'cause we were talking about leadership, but also how to deal with yourself, a little bit. And as we talked
Yeah.
about,
Because people have been like just told that they need to stop. Don't be boisterous. Don't be whatever. Don't be,
right,
and I talk about how, braggadocio and bragging on yourself, that's self-love. And we
that's right,
need
that's
more
right.
of that, right?
Right, right. And again, even like I said, post pandemic, there is there's more talk, there's more, it's in the zeitgeist of self care, and how do we do that? How do we give ourselves a little bit of that boost? Well, here's another way that we know how to do as hip hop folk. We know how to do it inherently. We just
Yeah.
sometimes we need a little help, seeing it ourselves. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this incredibly beautiful space that you've created and gifted to the world. And thank you for letting me occupy a little bit of it
no,
today.
thank you so much. You are always welcome back. So thank you so much.
Manny Faces, you sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick for this one.